believing in you, believing in the purpose that God has for you. You're like, Leslie, I didn't know I had a purpose. Not only do you have a purpose that God has for you, He has a purpose for you, a plan for your life. He thinks you're pretty incredible. You know, even when others come across as people who don't think you're incredible, you know, I've been in the legal field for 34 years. After I had been in it for, I would say, oh gosh, 25 years, or no, maybe 20, 19 or 20 years. My mom looked at me and said, what made you like think you could go into the legal field? And she was genuinely curious. Now this is when she was 75 years old. My father had just passed away, and she came to live at our house. And she had never asked me that question before. I felt, even though I wasn't raised this way, I felt that when I looked at the legal field, I had two aunties who had gone into it. One worked as a legal secretary for years and years, decades, and the other one worked later in life for a judge in the same county, same town of Paterson, New Jersey, downtown. So that's my hometown. And I thought, well, now computers are, you know, available, and it makes working in the legal field, it made it even 34 years ago much easier than typing on a typewriter, because in legal documents you can't make mistakes, okay, because that can be challenged in court. So you have to type and not make mistakes. That's how it was on the typewriter. On the computer you can just fix it. But I had to believe in myself that I didn't know if my skills, my secretarial skills that I possessed would take me down that road. I had no clue. I didn't know anything about the legal field at all. I think I met with an attorney once in my life as a 20-something-year-old. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to just dive in and see what happens. What is the worst that could happen, right? People would tell me no, but I started to rationalize, like logic this out. Everybody that started in the legal field had zero experience. So did everybody have schooling? No. Now in California they require it, but did everybody have schooling? And you say, well, Leslie, it's different now. This is 34 years later. The regulations for your state is one of the most important things. Paralegal regulations for your state. Google it. Put your state name in there. Paralegal regulations for the state of where I live now, Tennessee. Paralegal regulations for Montana. Paralegal regulations for Maine. Just put that in there in Google for your state and read those regulations. Are you excluded? I want you to dive in and check that out, okay? Do you need school? Do you need a certificate? Read the regulations. And then if you so choose, and they say, most of the states do not require a degree or a certificate. Most do not. And so that's your choice then, whether you get that or not. Or whether you let that be a barrier, even if the ad says it, will you let that stop you? That they require a certificate or a degree. Will you let that stop you from applying? See, I don't look at those things as barriers. I figure I've got skills. And I mean, I had skills with no experience. I had secretarial skills, typing. I had some word processing skills, but not a lot. And so I got in anyway. And believe in yourself that it's possible, okay? Philippians 4:13 says, "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." This is Paul wrote half of the books in the New Testament, approximately half. This is one of the books he wrote. It's a letter he wrote to the Philippians, the citizens, the people at the church that was established in a city called Philippi. Okay, so I want to give you just a tiny bit of information about Paul. He was a notorious priest from the Sanhedrin in Israel, and he was focused and bent on murdering Christians and bringing Christians down. The church that Jesus was establishing, and then Jesus was crucified and rose again, but his name was Saul then. He was determined to kill as many Christians and bring them down as he could. And he was on the road to Damascus, Syria, when the Lord took him down. Just took him down off the horse that he was on. Blinded him. Christians found him, were scared to death because they knew who he was, and they brought him to a home to recuperate. But he had a meeting with the Lord that day, and the Lord said, "Why are you persecuting me?" God took Paul and made him one of the greatest missionaries of all time. We read his letters to people in the Bible all the time. Very, very brilliant man, but he needed a life-changing event to happen in order to be used to fulfill his purpose. What is your purpose? You do have a purpose. You have giftings that nobody else possesses. Read Jeremiah 29:11. I had to grab hold of this years ago because my family didn't know anything about what the Bible said about purpose and a plan for your life. And it's very important that you understand this, that if he's bringing you into the legal field, there's a big reason for that. And you need to make sure when you hire on that you're in the right law firm, nonprofit, government agency, corporation, wherever you're supposed to be. You want to be where you're supposed to be, okay? And not unequally yoked and in a bad place. There are bad employers in the legal field, okay? And that goes for any employer, right? So, did everything go well for Paul once he understood that Jesus was the Messiah and he accepted Jesus as his Savior? Did everything go right for him? Was it smooth sailing? No, it was not. And literally, Paul was on a boat that was shipwrecked at one point. Paul was under house arrest when he wrote this letter to the Philippians, chained to a Roman soldier, and he's sitting there writing. He couldn't go see the people of the church, were in the church that he helped found. He couldn't see them, and they were worried and scared and full of fear, and he was in that letter calming them down, that all will be well. God's purpose and God's plan is in the works, always. Now, with or without you, God's plan will go on. So knowing what the plan is for your life takes moving forward and not being stagnant. This is the book that I'm teaching out of right now, and it's called Unstuck by Kimberly Jones. I highly recommend you either get the Kindle version and go through it and read it when you have, like, you know, your lunch hour or whatever, or just go along with me, because we're going to go through 90 days of this, okay? His circumstances, Paul's, were not always optimum. I can attest mine haven't always been optimum and perfect, not even close. But God will use the good and the bad to propel you forward into the plan that he has for you. So put your toe in the water. Try to quell and push down and give the fears and the trepidation, procrastination, give that all to him and start moving forward one step at a time. It doesn't have to take years for you to fulfill the purpose that he has for you. If the legal field is it's time to move and stop the stagnation, okay? Now remember what I said about the regulations. I want you to go to my website when you're done here and look at paralegalcoffeetalk.com and go to the tab that says Paralegal Resource Hub. That's free. And sign up for that and watch the videos there. They're interesting. It'll start to make you think about some things. Take notes while you're watching them. There's some questions you can answer, but you don't have to. Look at every tab on the website. If you are looking at the paralegal career for the first time, then, excuse me, I recommend you go look at the tab called Legal Break-In Book. That is for people who are looking at the career for the first time. It's not for people in the field. It's for entry level and pre-entry level, okay? So look at Legal Break-In. It'll give you the table of contents, and you can go look at it on Amazon too, but there's a link right on my website to take you there. But I like giving you the table of contents because it gives you what I cover in there, okay? Despite your circumstances and what you're facing right now, it's time to fly. It is time to let go of what's holding you back and stop pulling on the reins to stop. You're stopping yourself and just let it go. You do that with a horse. And my law firm took us all horseback riding one day as like a team building thing. Most law firms don't do that, but it was a creative thing to do. And I owned a horse in Oklahoma and a 3-day-old colt. And when we purchased this older mare, and she had a three-day-old baby, it was just the cutest thing. And the mare was just fabulous horse. And but the horse that they gave me was a horse that if you just ease up on the reins, you don't have to, kick the horse or anything. This horse would have taken off. So I had to continually hold him back because we were in a line behind each other, and I had to stay behind this person. And the person in front of me, it was so hilarious, had a horse that actually could dance like a Lipizzaner horse. He could do that thing with his back legs, and it was incredible. And I said, do you feel that? I asked him if he could feel it. And when the horse was doing that, and he said no. And it was so incredible to watch. But my horse wanted to be leader of the pack. And that was put in that horse to be that. Had those leadership qualities. I want to be first, but he was way back about 6 or 7 horses. So, the Lord is putting you in position for a reason and giving you those qualities. He's going to grow you in the legal field. If that's what you're meant to do, he will grow you like crazy. He will show you that, yes, you can learn this and you can learn that. I used to pray when the attorney would give me attorneys would come to me and expect me to find answers, and I was really good in finding answers on Google and other places, but sometimes they would ask me, see what you can find on this on Google. And one time an attorney was on the phone and asking me to do that, if I could get any information about, we had the client on the phone, but the client was looking at going into business with someone and didn't know everything about that person. And so I found some stuff on Google, and I went to the attorney like within 3 or 4 minutes. I said, this is what I found. And then he said, okay. And he talked to the client, and the client did go into business with that person in spite of some negative things I found. So hopefully that worked out. So you will have these giftings. That's one of my giftings. I can find things that are like a needle in a haystack for attorneys. And I'm good at researching. So I didn't know I would be good at that when I entered the legal field. You know, people, that was 1990, before AOL, before we were all over the internet. And by the time I left Florida, Oklahoma in 1995 and moved to Florida, then AOL had entered, before 1995, but people were getting on AOL, and then I started to see one person put up a website for the legal field, and that had some documents on there, and that you could go and look at that stuff and find documents like forms that you might need. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I started finding interesting things. I did research on my family, genealogy. So that was at the beginning stages. And now, you can research and find so many things. So your giftings will appear if you open your mind and you're open to learning more and more, and a lot on your own, not thinking you're going to get spoon-fed at the place that you work, because they don't have time to run a school. Okay, so nothing can steal the purpose that God has set out for you, but you can quash it. You cannot follow it. You can say, oh no, that I'm too fearful to do that. Or you can jump in with both feet and say, what's the worst that can happen? And that's the mindset shift that I want you to make, if that's what you're facing. If you're like, no, I'm good that way, like I'm gonna jump in. But I jumped in blindly. And I thought, what's the worst that can happen? And my husband, and the way that he operated in his life, that was a positive influence on me, where my family would have said, what makes you think you can do that? And even asked me 19 years, 20 years later, my mom was like, what made you think you could do that? And I said, Mom, the bigger question is, why wouldn't I think I could do that? See? So it's a whole shift here as to how do you fulfill your purpose that he has for you? And how do you find out what that is? You've got to step in to what you think it might be, and you'll find out. It is not all going to be written on the wall. Here's the plan. You have to discover it. And why is God working that way? It boils down to trust. Are you trusting him or not? Because he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Right? And he has your best interest at heart. So if he's never going to leave you nor forsake you, what do you have to lose? All right, so tomorrow we're going to talk about love life. And we'll do these Monday through Friday. Okay, so you'll see others here. You can catch up and binge watch the previous 11 days and take notes while you're watching. If you have a blank journal, use your journal and start writing down what the Lord is impressing on your mind as you go through this, okay? And go to the website. Now, the Beginner Paralegal Growth Accelerator course, which used to be known as Paralegal Inner Circle, that is not open. It will be open mid-September, okay? And I'm preparing right now to open that. And I would suggest you go to the website and look at everything. You can look at that page there. It says at the top, Accelerator. That's what that is. I only work with beginners who have never been in the legal field, or maybe you've just entered in. Would that be a good course for you? Well, absolutely. But the book is for people who have never been in the legal field. You're looking at it for the first time. It gives you like day in the life. You can see it on the website. And then go to the Paralegal Resource Hub and sign up for that so you can watch those videos. And that's where I house my courses. But there's nothing open right now, okay? But you can look at the Accelerator tab. Oh, there are many other tabs there. Investigate. That's what we do as paralegals. Look under every tab. Is there anything there that will help you? Okay. And yes, there is. And there's some resources there, paralegal resources. Look at those. Okay. Those are things that I have used. So have a great day today. I have, just so you know, that I have a Facebook page called Paralegal Coffee Talk. I'm on Instagram under Paralegal Coffee Talk. Here it's Paralegal Career Mastermind. There are, gosh, over 900 videos here on this particular channel on YouTube. So I'm on TikTok under my name, Leslie Sansone Williams. Where else? I guess that's about it. Yeah. So have a great day today, and I will talk to you in tomorrow's video called Love Life. See you then.